Thank you very much. Let me welcome you to Medzone African Motives. Today, I want us to look at Business Studies Grade 11 Term 2 Revision, Paper 1, Business Studies Grade 11, Paper 1. So we are going to look at an essay question, which we know very well that is Section C. So we are going to do the question paper that was written in Eastern Cape in June 2025. So that is the essay question that we are going to prepare ourselves with. So without wasting much time, let's get to our essay. So here is our section C, like I've said, essay questions are section C. So this is our section C. So it says answer one question in this section, but we are going to attend to all of them. So we are as well given a note, as it says clearly indicate the question number of the chosen question. The answer to the question must start on a new page. That is, for example, question 5 on a new page or question 6 on a new page. So that is that. So we are now going to start with question 5, business environment. Business environment. As it says, every business should be aware of the functions of trade unions. Piracy, as a socio-economic issue, has a negative impact on a business, and businesses should be able to deal with it. So business should be able to deal with what? Piracy as we know very well, is a socio-economic issue and has a negative impact on business. So business should understand the Labor Relations Act to promote fair labor practices in the workplace. So that is that. So now we are to write an essay on a contemporary socio-economic issues in which we include the following aspects. So that is that. But you know very well the structure of an essay, that for us to write an essay, we first have to start with introduction. We first have to start with introduction. And you know very well that your introduction must be related to the topic that you are to write essay on. Like now we are to write our essay on contemporary socio-economic issues. Make sure that your introduction, your short or brief introduction, is going to be related or based on contemporary socio-economic issues. Also, make sure that you're going to have your body. Your essay should have what body, which your body should be built up with these aspects that we are going to talk about. And lastly, you have to have what conclusion. That is how the essay is structured. So, like we have said, that we are told that our essay should include the following aspects. The first one, outline the functions of trade unions. The first one, we are to outline the functions of trade unions. Like we have seen that in our scenario, we were told that every business should be aware of the functions of trade unions. So that is the aspect that we are asked now, the functions of trade unions. Explain the negative impact of piracy on businesses. We have been told on our extract that piracy as a socio-economic issue has a negative impact on a business. So now we are asked to explain the negative impact of piracy on a business. Then the third aspect, discuss solutions to piracy. Discuss the solution to piracy. Like we've said, the business should be able to deal with it. So dealing with it is because it's when we are going to come up with what? With solutions. That is that. The last aspect, advise the business on the purpose of Labor Relations Act, because we know very well that in our extract, it has said business should understand the Labor Relations Act to promote fair labor practices in the workplace. So these are our aspects that we are going to build our body of our essay with. So that is that. So now let's quickly go to our answers for question 5. So here we are on our answers for question 5. This is section C. Says mark the answers, the first question only. That is that. So business environments. Introduction, like I've said, we first have to start with introduction. So it says on our introduction, a trade union is a group of employees who associate together in a particular industry as a mining or steel works. So with the purpose of protecting the rights of their members. So the introduction there, as it says, it talks about what? A trade union. Trade union. The first point talks about a trade union. A trade union is a group of workers who join together to protect or to improve their rights and working conditions. For example, a mine workers joining a mining union to negotiate for higher salaries. That is what it means. So hope you're together on that. Also, it talks about piracy. Piracy is the unauthorized use or reproduction of another person's original work. So, piracy is the illegal copy. That is that. It is what? Illegal copying. It is illegal copying. Illegal copying. That is piracy. Illegal copying, downloading or selling of another person's work without permission. That is that. For example, you selling copied movies or music without paying the producer. Hope you're together, good people. So also it says effective solution to piracy will minimize the negative effect of piracy on a business. So that is that. Uh, the effective solutions to piracy will try by all means to minimize the negativity that comes up with what? With piracy. So that is that. The labor relation allows the principle of collective bargaining and puts the structures in place with which disputes in the workplace can be settled. So, Labor Relations Act promotes fair relationships between employers and employees and helps solve workplace disputes. So, you can talk of CCMA. You know, workers are using the CCMA to settle unfair dismissal dispute. So, that is that, good people. So, that is our introduction. Hope you understand it. Hope you understand it. It's just a 2 marks. Any 2 times 1. So 2 points that we can talk about will give you um, good marks for introduction as it's only 2 marks. Hope we are together, good people. Now let us move to our first aspect that we were asked to talk about, which is functions of trade unions. You remember that this is this outline the functions of trade union. So now let us go to our answers for that. Function of trade unions. As it says, the first function of trade union is that protecting the interest of workers. Protecting the interest of workers. Trade unions ensures that workers are treated fairly in the workplace. Ensure workers treated fairly in the workplace. So treating of workers fairly in the workplace. So that is that, for example, a union helping workers who are unfairly dismissed. Hope you're together, good people. So it further on says representing the interest of the general society and minority groups through media and negotiations. So meaning to say trade unions speak on behalf of workers. They speak on behalf of workers and disadvantaged groups through negotiations and media. For example, a union campaigning for equal pay for women. That is that. That is why saying they are representing the interest of the general society and minority groups through media and negotiations. Also influencing government decisions. Influencing government decisions. Trade unions may influence labor laws and government policies. For example, union requesting government to increase the minimum wage. That is how simple and easy is that. So let us move on, good people. Influencing management for better working conditions, salaries, and benefits. So we are saying it influences what? Management for better working conditions. For better working conditions. So what does that mean? So that is very important to understand that point. So it simply says trade unions negotiate for better salaries, benefits after workplaces. For example, workers receiving improved medical aid benefits after negotiations. That is that, good people. Also representing employees cooperatively and individually. So that is that. So it means that trade unions represent groups of employees as well as individual workers during disputes. For example, a union representative attending disciplinary hearing with a worker. That is that, good people. Let us move on. Improving the material benefits of their members. So improving material benefits of their member. Trade unions help members receive financial and workplace benefits. For example, negotiating annual salary increase. That is their role. That is their function. Advancing the interest of members. Advancing the interest of members. Meaning to say trade unions work to improve the overall welfare of workers. For example, ensuring workers receive paid leave. So that is that. Providing legal and financial advice. Meaning to say trade unions assist members with legal and financial matters. That is that. Providing benefits and educational facility to its members. So it simply says the unions may offer bursaries, training, or even funeral benefits. For example, union funding members skill training courses. That is that. Those are educational facilities that you're talking about. Supporting gender equality. Supporting gender equality. Meaning to say the trade unions promote equal treatment of men and women in the workplace. So that is that. Also protecting the members in times of retrenchments and disciplinary hearings. So they protect members during retrenchments. So it means that they assist workers when business reduce staff. So that is that. They can negotiate a severance packages for retrenched workers. That is that. Protecting the interest of their members during disciplinary procedures. So meaning to say they assist, they ensure workers are treated fairly during hearings. So that is that, with people. Let us move on to another aspect that we are asked to write about, which is negative impact of piracy. This is what you are talking about as it is. Explain negative impact of piracy. So let us be on the answers for that. So negative impact of piracy. As it says, it can undermine the music or movie industry as they lose money. So that is that business lose what? Money. That is what it means. It means that business lose money. Business lose money. So that is that business lose money. How so? That is that. So it means that piracy reduces sales because customers buy illegal copies instead of original products. So that is that. So for example, illegal movie downloads reduce cinema income. So it means business are going to lose money because of piracy. It drives up the prices of products in order to compensate for the loss in sales. So price of products increases. So it means now the price of products increases. The price of products increases. Business may increase prices to recover losses caused by piracy. That's what it means. So hope you're together. Leads to job losses in the industry. So job loss, okay. The job loss, okay. So it occurs because low profits may force business to retrench workers. So that is why the job loss is going to occur. It is going to occur because of the low profits, which is going to force the business to retrench workers. So that is that. You find that as we are talking about we were talking about the music, we were talking about movies. Let's say, for example, now workers losing jobs in the film industry because people are downloading them illegally. So that will impact workers negatively because now they will be retrenched. The music industry feels reluctant to develop new talents as the element of risk is too high. That is that. So business avoid developing new talent. Business avoid developing new talents. That is what this point means. It means that business avoid developing new talent. Developing new talent. So business avoid developing new talent. Business may fear investing in new artists because piracy reduces profits. So that is that. So may cause damage to the value of the business, may cause damage to the value of the business. So damage business value and reputation. So this damages business value as well as what the reputation of the business is going to be damaged because of piracy. As we know, piracy can reduce the value and image of the business. So that is that. You'll find that, for example, a software company losing credibility because fake copies are widespread. That is that. The business lose out on sales and income, which in turn threatens the industry. That is that, good people. Business lose out on sales and income, which in turn threatens what? The industry. So here we are talking about the loss of sales and income. We are talking about the loss of sales and income. That is that. So, meaning to say business lose revenue when customers use illegal copies. That is in short what it means. So let us move on. Also, it says unlawful copying and streaming of movies and television series lead to decline in sales and profits for the business. So we are talking about decline in sales and profits. We are talking about in decline in profits and decline in sales and profits. Okay. Decline in profits. Decline in profits and sales. So that is because of what? Illegal streaming. Illegal streaming and copying decrease demand for legal products. So it means that is going to affect our sales as well as our profits will be affected. Artists may see no value in producing new set of music or movies because of reduced sales. So artists may lose motivation, loss of motivation because of um, reduced sales. So artists may stop producing new work because they are not earning enough money. That is that. This may affect the artist and producers' productivity levels. So it means you're talking about reduced productivity. We are talking about reduced productivity. Productivity. So that is that. So meaning to say piracy may discourage producers and artists from working harder. So that is that, good people. Let us move on to another aspect. The other aspect is solutions to piracy. The other aspect is solutions to piracy. That is what we are asked to talk about. So let us attend to that aspect, solutions to piracy. Let us attend to that aspect. So as it says patent, it talks about patent. A patent prevents other business or people not to produce and sell the same product or specific service. So meaning to say a patent gives an inventor the exclusive right to produce and sell an invention. So other people may not copy it without permission. That is that. That is that. So that is a patent, or that's what patent means. So patent prevents others from producing the same products. It prevents others from producing the same product. From producing the same product. So that is that. So, for example, a company patenting a new cell phone design. That's what it means. So it also says business can take out patent of new inventions and include a sample of their invention with application. With what? With application. So business can patent new inventions. So business register new ideas or inventions legally. So it means business can register new ideas or inventions legally. That's what it means. As it says, business can take out patent for new inventions and include sample of their inventions with applications. So it simply says business can register new inventions. They can register new inventions. They can register new inventions or new ideas. Sorry, they can register new ideas. They can register new ideas and or inventions legally or inventions legally, not illegally, but legally. That's what it means. For example, a business patenting a new machine. So that's what it means. They must register a patent with a patent office in South Africa. So registering with the patent office. So that means that the invention must officially be registered in South Africa. So it must officially be registered in South Africa. So that is that. The invention must comply with the Patent Act number 57 of 1978. So it means the inventions must comply with the Patent Act. So the invention must meet the legal requirements before approval. So that is what it means. They can bring legal proceedings against anyone who produces or sells the invention. So legal action against the copycats. So legal actions against the copycats, meaning to say business may sue people who copy their inventions. So that is that, good people. Let us move on to another aspect. So the other aspect is trademarks. Trademarks. So that is another aspect. So trademarks, as it says, business can use trademarks to identify themselves and their products. So meaning to say, identifies business and product. That is a business. That what it means that a trademark protects a business name, logo, or symbol from being copied. That is a trademark. That is what a trademark. So a trademark helps customers recognize what products. So hope you understand that. Also, they must register their trademarks with the Register of Trademarks and the Companies and Intellectual Property Registration, that is CIPC. So register trademarks with what? With CIPC, Companies and Intellectual Property Registration. So that is that. Business must officially register trademarks. A registered trademark is protected forever, provided it is renewed every 10 years and the renewal fee is paid. So trademark protection lasts forever if renewed. Understand that. So protection continues if renewal fees are paid every 10 years. That is that. For example, Coca-Cola renews trademark regularly. That is that. Claim damages from someone who infringes trademark. So many business may sue people who illegally use their trademark. So that is that, good people. Let us move on to another aspect, copyright. Let us move on to another aspect, copyright. So copyright, as it says, business can sue someone who infringes their copyright. Meaning to say, copyright, we know very well when you're talking about copyright, good people, copyright protects original works such as books, music, films, and software. So when we are saying business can sue someone who infringes the copyright, it simple says a business may take legal action against people who copy their work illegally. Hope you are together, good people. They can also sue someone who sells or distributes works that he or she knew were infringements of copyright. So what it means is that people selling or sharing pirated material may be punished. They may be punished. For example, arresting sellers of copied DVDs. That is that. They can take legal action against people who copy their products. Meaning to say legal action against copying products. Business can stop others from reproducing their work. That is that. So let us move on, grade 11s. Let us move on to another aspect. The purpose of Labor Relation Act. The purpose of Labor Relation Act. That is another aspect that we are asked to discuss on question 5. So now it says as the purpose of the Labor Relation Act is to establish the Commission of Conciliation and Mediation and Arbitration. That is when you're talking about what CCMA, to resolve labor disputes through a statutory conciliation and mediation and arbitration. So that is that when you're talking about the first purpose of Labor Relation Act, LRA. So it says CCMA helps to solve labor disputes fairly, helps to solve labor disputes fairly. Labor disputes fairly. That's what it means. For example, workers reporting unfair dismissal to CCMA. So that is that. So it says again, it endorses the right to strike against retrenchments and facilitate labor disputes. So meaning to say, it supports the right to strike. It supports the right to strike. Workers may legally strike for better conditions. So it means that workers may legally strike, may legally strike for better conditions, for better conditions. So that is that. So, for example, good people, employees striking for wage increases. So that is that. Clarifies the transfer of contracts of employment procedures. Clarifies transfer of employment contracts procedures. Meaning to say the Act explains what happens when ownership of business changes. For example, workers keeping jobs after company take over. So that's what it means. Establish labor courts and labor appeal courts to deal with labor issues. Establish labor courts. Labor courts deal with labor related issues. So, for example, a court hearing an unfair labor practice case. That is that. Provide fair labor practice between the employer and employee. So it promotes fair labor practices. So that is what that means. It promotes fair labor practice. The act ensures fairness between employers and employees. So trying by all means to prevent, for example, a discrimination in the workplace. That is that. Deals with strikes and lockouts and workplace fire-ups. So the act regulates strikes and employer lockouts legally. That is what it means. Establish workplace forums. Establish workplace forums to promote the interest of all employees in the workplace, whether they belong to the trade union or not. So it established workplace forums. It established workplace forums. So we need to say workplace forums improve communication between workers and employees. So you'll find that, for example, employees discussing workplace issues with management. That is what we are saying when we talk of the workplace forums. Advances economic development or social justice or labor peace to ensure the workplace maintain the basic rights of the employees. So, uh, like we are saying, it promotes economic development and labor peace, meaning to say the act encourages stable and peaceful workplaces. So that is that with people. Now let us move on. So this is the end of question 5, and we are to attend to question 6. But oh no, this is not the end. Like we are to conclude our essay. Let us conclude our essay. Conclusion. Like I said, the structure of essay should have introduction, body, and as well as conclusion. So right now we are to conclude. We are to conclude. So it says it is necessary for business to put measures in place to ensure that the artist or owner's rights to, to their work are not violated and they are compensated fairly. They are compensated fairly. So that is that. So that's that business must protect the artist and owners. Meaning to say business should prevent piracy and ensure creators are paid fairly. That's what it means. Trade unions now, trade unions play an important role in protecting the rights of employees and represent them when necessary. Meaning to say trade unions helps workers receive fair treatment. That is that. Business should do everything possible to find effective solution to effective solution to illegal acts of reproduction of goods that affect the artists, owners, and businesses. So that is that business should fight illegal reproduction. So effective anti-piracy measures reduce business losses. So that is that. Legislation such as Labor Relations Act are put in place to promote fair labor practices in the workplace. So labor legislation promotes fairness. So the Labor Relations Act encourages fair treatment in the workplace. So this is the end of what? Of our question 5. As you know, the maximum marks that is this one is for conclusion, but the total marks for that is 40 marks. So now let us attend to question 6, good people. Let us go to question 6. So here we are on our question 6. Question 6. Which is business operations. So it says successful production planning enables the aspects of production control to be implemented in the business operations. But business must be well informed of the purpose of Occupational Health and Safety Act and must take the necessary precautionary measures when handling machinery. So now it says, as an expert in production planning, write an essay on the following aspects. So the aspects that you are given that the following, the first one, outline the advantages of production planning. The second one, explain 3 aspects that must be considered during production control. The third one, discuss the purpose of Occupational Health and Safety Act. The last one, recommend the precautionary measures that business should take when handling machinery. So that is that. And now we are to go straight to the answers. Let us do our answers for question 6. So let us be on our answers for question 6. So here we are on our question 6. Here we are on our question 6. So that is the production function, business operations. So like question 5 that we did, we know very well that we first have to start with what? introduction. We first have to start with what? Introduction. Remember the structure of our essay. So it says production planning refers to the setting goals for the production department and establishing policies or programs and procedures to achieve these goals. Meaning to say, uh, production plan is the process of setting goals, like it says, for the production department, deciding how production activities will be carried out efficiently. So, meaning to say, it helps business decide what products to make, help business to helps business to decide what products to make, how many to produce, when production should take place, and what resources are needed. So it said what products to produce. That is what it helps us with. What products to produce, how many to produce, how many to produce, and when production should take place. When production should take place. Production should take place. So that is how it helps us, the production planning. As you see, it refers to setting goals for the production department and establishing policies or programs and procedures to achieve these goals. So this simply says this is going to help business what to produce, how many to produce, when production should take place, and what resources are needed as well. For example, let's make an example. A furniture factory plans to produce 500 chairs in 1 month and schedule workers and machines accordingly. That is a production planning that you're talking about. Then talks about controlling of each individual task and action in a production process and establish the starting and finishing of each task. Here we're talking about production control. We are talking about production control. So we are saying production control involves monitoring and controlling every task in the production process to ensure work starts and finishes on time. Meaning to say it ensures that production follows the original plan and that problems are corrected quickly. For example, a bakery, let's say, a bakery manager checks whether the bread is baked and packed according to daily production schedule. That is that. The aim of Occupational Health and Safety Act is to provide for health and safety of employees at work during the use of plants and machinery. So here we're talking about Occupational Health Safety Act. As we know, it aims to protect employees from injuries, illness, accidents in the workplace. So you can say business must provide safe working conditions and safe machinery for workers. That is that. Safety precautions are essential in every workplace, especially when dealing with chemicals or dangerous machinery or harmful substances. So meaning to say the safety precautions are measures taken to prevent accidents, injuries when working with machinery and dangerous substances. So meaning to say workers must follow safety rules and use protective equipment to reduce risk. So that is that. So now we are to attend to our first aspect, and the first aspect was to discuss advantages of production planning. Advantages of production planning. It says production planning allows business to ensure that every machine and worker is used to their full capacity. Full of machines and workers. Full of machines and workers. That is what we are told. Full of machines and workers. Meaning to say, Um, Production planning ensures that workers and machines are fully utilized. So no machine or worker remains idle unnecessary, which improves efficiency. So that is that. Business can ensure that the business can ensure that it has the correct amount of supplies and stock or inventory to control at a given time. Correct amount of supplies and inventory control. So business can maintain the correct amount of stock and materials. That is what we are trying to say. Meaning to say it is going to prevent shortages and overstocking of material. That is what we are saying. Business maintain, is going to maintain the correct amount of stock, the correct amount of stock, correct amount of stock and materials. So that is that. By so doing, they're going to prevent shortages and overstocking of raw material. For example, a juice company orders enough bottles for weekly production only. So that is that. That is maintaining of correct amount of stock. Improved inventory control reduces wastage and unnecessary storage cost. So here we are talking about reduced waste and storage cost. We are talking about reduced wastage, and storage cost. And storage costs. That is that. So it means that improved inventory control lowers unnecessary waste and storage expenses. So business avoid buying too many materials that may expire or become damaged. So that is that, good people. So now let us move on to another point or statement. As it says, production planning will prevent time being wasted and increase the number of final products, thus increasing productivity. So saves time and increase productivity. Saves time and increase productivity. Productivity. That is that. So it means production planning prevents delays and increase what? Output. So it means employees know exactly what task to complete and when to complete them. Production planning process involves quality checks, which will improve quality. So here we're talking about improves product quality. So production planning includes quality checks and checks during production. So it means defective products are identified early before reaching customers. So that is that, good people. So now let us move on to another aspect. Let us move on to another aspect. So it says aspects that must be considered during production control. Aspects that must be considered during production control. So it first talked about dispatching. As it says, it involves issuing production orders to start production. It involves issuing production orders to start production. So meaning to say dispatching give instruction to start production process. So it puts the production plan into action by assigning tasks and resources. So that is that. So it provides orders for movement of materials, tools and equipment to the necessary location. That is that. So we are saying movement of materials, tools, and equipment. So materials and equipment are moved to the correct production areas. So that is that. We are saying materials, and equipment are moved to the correct production areas. Are moved to the correct production areas. To the correct production areas. So that is that. So, meaning to say workers receive the necessary tools and materials to perform their tasks. So, also it says it provides orders for beginning the process, beginning the production process. So, production activities officially start. Production activities officially start. Activities officially start. So that is that. So it means that now workers begin performing assigned duties according to the schedule. So that is that. Checking the time and cost involved in the process. So the business monitors time and production cost. They monitor time and production cost. That is that. The business monitor time as well as what production cost, meaning to say this is going to ensure production stays within the budget and deadlines. So that is that. Checking the flow of work according to the routine. So meaning to say workers must move smoothly from one stage to another. And that is going to prevent delays and confusion during production. Supervising the process. Supervising the, the process. Supervising the process. So managers monitor works and production activities. So we are saying managers monitor workers, managers monitor workers. They monitor workers and production activities. And production activities. So that is that. So supervision ensures workers follow instruction correctly. So that is that. Also, dispatching is putting the production plan and schedule into action. Dispatching puts the production plan and schedule into action. That is that. Also identifies the person who will do the work and supplies the specifications and material list. So supply specification and material. So it simply says, or that time we're talking about identifying the person responsible for the work. That is where we are. It identifies the person who is responsible for the work. So it means specific workers are assigned what duties. So employees know exactly what work they must perform. So that is that with people. Let us move on. So also it says legal and regulatory process are also checked to ensure that necessary standards are met. Necessary standards are met. So that is that. We are on corrective action. We are on corrective action. So corrective action involves any adjustment to the planning process. So adjustment to the production process. So corrective action involves making changes when problems occur. That is that. Making changes when problems occur. When problems occur. So that is that. It means that business improve weak areas in production. So that is that. So staffing issues are also dealt with by corrective actions, dealing with staffing issues. So problem involving workers are corrected. So that is that. Problems, it means that problems involving workers. Problems involving workers are corrected. Are correct. So that is that. It means that management may train workers or replace absent staff members. So that is that. So now let us move on to another aspect, the purpose of Occupational Health and Safety Act. That is another aspect that we are asked to talk about. Purpose of Occupational and Health, Purpose of Occupational and Health and Safety Act. So that is that. So that is that. So the first one says it requires every business to establish and maintain a safe work environment, and that is without risk to the health of workers. So that is that. A safe working environment. Safe working. Business must provide workplace that is safe for employees. Meaning to say workers should not be exposed to unnecessary dangers. That's what this means. That's what this means. That to say workers, um, workers should not be exposed, should not be exposed to unnecessary dangers. To unnecessary dangers. So that is that. Workers should not be exposed to unnecessary dangers. For example, factory have to install safety guards on dangerous machines. That is that. Review the efficiency of health and safety measures. Business must regularly evaluate safety procedures, meaning to say safety systems should always remain effective. That is that. Outlines the roles and responsibility of employer and employees, manufacturers, designers, importers, suppliers, as well as sellers. So that is that, where it says you outline the roles and responsibility. You define roles and responsibility. The Act explains the duties of employer, employees, suppliers, and manufacturers. So everyone must contribute to workplace safety. That's that. Clarifies the roles and duties of the health and safety representative and community. So that is that safety officers and community must monitor workplace safety. So they have to identify the hazards and try by all means to suggest improvements. That is that. Requires that the main dangers and potential incidents of the workplace are identified and eliminated. They are identified and eliminated. So it means hazards must be detected and removed. Business must reduce risk before accidents happen. That is that. Examine the cause of incidents by any employee relating to the employee's health and safety at work. So you investigate what incidents and accidents. Meaning to say the cause of accidents must be examined. This helps prevent future accidents. That is that. Expect employees to cooperate and follow the necessary instructions and report any unsafe situations. Employees must cooperate. Workers must obey safety instructions. Employees should follow rules to protect themselves and others. Make presentations to the employer concerning general health and safety issues at the workplace. So that is that. That is when you report unsafe situations. Employee must report dangers in the workplace. So unsafe conditions must be corrected quickly. So that is that. Good people. That is that. So let us move on. Let us move on to another point. It says develop now. Develop a culture of safety in the workplace. Develop a culture of safety in the workplace. It's very important that you develop the culture of safety. Let it be there. Familiarize employees with safety procedures. So that is that. So now we are to conclude our essay of question 6. Now we are to conclude. Okay, so before we can conclude, there is aspect that we skipped. There is an aspect that we skipped. Let us attend to it. There is aspect that we asked to talk about the precautionary measure business should take when handling machinery. Sorry for that. Let us attend to precautionary measure business should take when handling machinery. That is that. So sorry for that. As he says, all machinery and equipment must be correctly installed and safe to use. So here we are talking about proper installation of machinery. So we are talking about proper installation of material, of machinery, proper installation of machinery. So that is that proper installation of machinery. So meaning to say machinery must be correctly installed and safe to use. So poorly installed equipment can cause serious accidents. That is that. Workers must be properly trained in how to use machinery and must be informed about the risk when using the machinery. So here we're talking about the training workers. Here we're talking about training workers. We're talking about training workers. Meaning to say, employees must be trained to operate machinery safely. So workers should understand how machines function and their risk. So that is that. Regular safety checks must be carried out and machinery should be maintained and serviced regularly. So regular safety checks maintained. So machinery should be inspected and serviced regularly. And serviced regularly. So that is that maintenance prevents breakdown as well as accidents. Workers need to wear protective clothing and gear such as overalls, hard hats, safety helmets and earplugs, masks and heavy-duty safety boots, welding goggles as well as gloves when working with machinery and equipment. So wearing protective clothing and gear. So workers should wear safety equipment. That is that workers um, should wear safety equipment. Workers should wear safety equipment. So that is that. So protective gear reduces injuries and exposure to hazards. For example, welders wear goggles and gloves while working. That is what you're talking about. So then we're here where we have said develop a culture of safety in the workplace. That was for this aspect that we skipped. So here we say business should encourage safety awareness. Business should encourage safety awareness. Employees become more careful and responsible. Familiarize employees with safety procedures. So meaning to say workers must know emergency and safety procedures. So that is that. So now that is now, then we can come to our conclusion. So conclusion, as it says, ongoing production planning is necessary due to constant changes in manufacturing process. Importance of ongoing planning. So product planning must continue because of production needs change constantly. So business must adapt to customer demand and new technology. Production control ensures that the production is undertaken according to the production plan. So that is the importance of production control. Production control ensures follows plan. So it helps business meet deadlines and quality standards. OHSA requires that employees are expected to cooperate and follow the necessary instructions and report any unsafe situations. So here we are saying OHSA and employees cooperation. Employee must follow safety instructions and report hazards. So it means cooperation improves workplace safety. When the machinery and equipment are used in a factory, the risk of accidents is high and business should draw up their own workplace safety policy and enforce necessary control measures. So, importance of workplace safety policies, business should enforce safety measures when using machinery. This reduces workplace accidents and injuries. So, this is the end of this presentation. Grade 11's make sure that you use this presentation, as it will help you a lot while you are preparing for your Zoom test that you're going to write. Thank you very much.